All right, welcome everybody. Today we're doing things a little different. We're going to run a grand rounds on three, let's call them cautionary cases. We're going to break down three stories, each one with a totally unique trauma, a different path to injury. But man, they all end up in the same unfortunate place. So let's scrub in and see what went wrong.
So this is the central question for today, right? We're looking at three wildly different situations. One's about tech gone wrong, one's about a personal choice, and one is about a straight-up medical error. They look like they have nothing in common. But our job today is to connect the dots and find that one single diagnosis that ties them all together. Let's get into it.
So here's our docket for today. We got three case files to review: a tech mishap, a really hasty decision, and a catastrophic mix-up. After we review the files, we're going to figure out the common diagnosis. And then, at the end, I'll write you all a final prescription. Let's do this.
All right, first up, case file 01. Patient's name is Joseph. He presents with, let's just say, acute trauma of a very delicate nature. And the cause? A really unfortunate run-in with a high-tech toilet. Seriously. This is what happens when human curiosity meets technology with a terrible user manual. Let's walk through the sequence of events.
Okay, so according to the chart, the patient had some serious gastric issues, had to make a run for it, and ended up in the women's restroom. That's where he meets this advanced commode. He sees a button labeled WW, pushes it, gets a little warm water wash. Nice. Then he sees PP for powder puff. Okay, why not? But then he sees one more button, ATR, and his curiosity gets the best of him. He had absolutely no idea it stood for automatic tampon removal and, well, he activated a very powerful mechanism.
Yeah. So this was the patient's reaction when he woke up. The nurse had to explain that ATR, the automatic tampon removal function, it removed a little more than it was designed for. And this just gets to the core of the issue, doesn't it? That devastating shock of finding out about a function you never, ever wanted to use. A truly catastrophic result from one little uninformed push of a button.
All right, let's pivot to our second case file. This patient's name is Harry. He's 58 years old. Now, what's different here is that this was no accident. This was an elective procedure, followed by some deep, deep post-op regret. See, he made a conscious choice, and now he has to live with all the fallout he never saw coming.
So the patient's history is pretty straightforward. At 58, Harry just decided he was, and this is a quote, fed up. He asked for the procedure, got it, and you know what? At first, he said he felt lighter, more carefree. But then, the complications started. We're talking functional problems, chronic pain, and just this heavy psychological regret over a decision you just can't take back. And this quote tells you everything. His wife is trying to be helpful, trying to find a silver lining, at least we don't have to worry about, and his response is just filled with this raw frustration. It shows you the damage wasn't just physical. His choice sent shockwaves through his entire life, his marriage, his sense of who he was. It's just a brutal reminder that you really don't know what you've got till it's gone.
And now for our final file. And this one is just a flat-out tragedy. Patient Dre. The presenting complaint is an iatrogenic penectomy. And I want you to lock in on that word, iatrogenic, because it means the harm was caused directly by his medical treatment. This wasn't his fault, and it wasn't his choice. This was a catastrophic medical error.
Let's just be crystal clear on this term because it is critical here. Iatrogenesis, as you can see, is when the harm, the complication, the problem is caused by us, the doctors, the medical professionals. It's the absolute worst case scenario in our field, right? It's when the thing that was supposed to be the cure becomes the cause of a brand new, devastating injury.
And this is how they broke the news to him? The bedside manner is just staggering. Look at this framing. On the one hand, the bad news. Hey, that thing we thought was a tumor, turns out it was your penis, so we took it off. And then they follow it up with what they think is good news. But hey, it wasn't cancerous. The disconnect is just off the charts.
And there it is. The patient's response just slices right through all that clinical jargon and gets to the raw human truth of it. The doctor is thinking about a benign tissue sample. The patient is thinking about the irreversible loss of a piece of himself. This right here shows the massive gap that can exist between a clinical result and what a patient actually experiences.
Okay, so that's the data. Those are our three cases: an accident, a choice, and an error. They all seem so different, right? But now's the part where we step back. We look at the whole board.
We're going to correlate the findings and figure out the underlying condition that connects all three of these tragedies.
So what's the common thread? What's the diagnosis? First, in every single case, we see unforeseen consequences. Joseph pushed a button, Harry made a choice, and Dre's doctors made an error. The end result was something none of them intended. Second, the high price of haste. Joseph was rushing, Harry was fed up and acted on impulse, and that surgical team, they rushed to a judgment. And finally, all three of these different paths, they all lead to the exact same place, a really painful newfound appreciation for what was lost.
And that, right there, is our final diagnosis. The central lesson from these three very different stories is a truth we all kind of know but often forget. The true value of something is often only understood once it's gone, in its absence. All three of these men had to learn that lesson in the absolute hardest way possible.
So, after reviewing these files, what's our treatment plan? What's the preventative medicine here? It's time for the final prescription. And this one's for everybody in the room. So listen up. On a practical level, the prescription is simple. Just pause. Think. Whether it's a button on a weird toilet, a life-altering choice, or a medical procedure, you have to understand the consequences before you act. But on a deeper level, the real advice is to take a minute and do a full inventory of your own life. What are the parts of yourself, your health, your relationships that you've just gotten used to? The things you just assume will always be there. The final prescription is to appreciate them now, before absence becomes your teacher. So I'll leave you with this question. What are you taking for granted? That's it for today's Grand Rounds. Class dismissed.